Peter DeYoung. I'm CEO of the Piramal Global Pharma Division. And Nandini shared with you the $2 billion goal and the 25% EBITDA target for 2030. You're probably wondering, how are we going to go about this? And as a leadership team, we're very excited about what we're going to do to achieve this. And you'll hear that over the successive presentations. But we'll try and break it down into the three businesses here for you. As our largest business, CDMO, we expect it to be $1.2 billion with 25% EBITDA margins. And overall, we've laid out what we want to be and how it's going to be different maybe than some of the other CDMOs you would look at. The first is we want to emerge as a fast-growing, innovation-focused, integrated CDMO that leverages our scientific excellence and our global network and end-to-end differentiated services to be a value-added solution provider to the patients that Nandini described in her opening. The second biggest business in what we have to offer is our complex hospital generics business. We expect that to become a $600 million business, and we expect it to maintain its over 25% margins over the period. And while we already are a leading critical care company, we expect to strengthen our core in inhalation anesthetics, injectable pain, and intrathecal. But also, we expect to build a growing portfolio of differentiated and specialty products to add on top of that. And the third component, which you'll hear about also, is the $200 million business that we expect with double-digit EBITDA from the Indian consumer healthcare. And here we expect to be a significant player in the Indian consumer healthcare segment with market-leading brands and an extensive distribution reach. In each of these sections, you're going to hear from the leaders leading each of those divisions in the subsequent bits about how we're going to get there and why we're excited about this mission and what we're going to do in each of those three areas. But before we go there, I want to give you a little bit of flavor about some common themes that we're going to see across all three divisions, because we're not just three divisions, we're an overall company that we're stronger together. And I want to pick some of those themes to kind of describe for you some changes that we're going to be accelerating as we go about in this transformation. The first is going to be our overall investment in differentiation in both products and services. And bear with me, I'm going to give you some examples on this slide to try and give more to life what I'm talking about. In the CDMO side, I'll pick two examples. One is that we're currently launching or supporting a client while they're launching a cholesterol drug that supports LDL cholesterol reduction. And we're not just doing it in one of our facilities, we're doing it in three of our facilities, one in India, one in UK, and one in US, to support the multiple SKUs they want to commercialize in their global launch. So when I talk about on-patent and differentiation, this is a complicated product to make, and we're using our full global network to deliver it. A second example of differentiation would be in the area of antibody-drug conjugation. We can do the full combination of what is required for an ADC using our network, starting in India for the monoclonal antibody, but also the linker payload in North America, the conjugation in UK, and finally the fill finish in Kentucky. So we can bring together the whole package. And that's giving a lot of value in terms of speed to our customers. I'll touch on that a bit later. Complex hospital generics. I'll pick three examples that would be in this new shift that we're focusing on. Two of them we're already actually currently selling. Gabapentin, which is our intrathecal baclofen product. It's a pre-filled syringe. The other presentations don't have that convenience and that benefit. They have a little bit more difficult to use, ampules or vials. So we're already different than the competition in what we have to offer there. Similarly, our Metigo product, which is our intrathecal morphine product, would be of a similar ilk, where not everyone can offer what we are offering with that product. And we have a more recent launch, which Jeff will talk about when he discusses later, which is Neoatricon, where we have a pediatric formulation where everyone else only has an adult formulation, and it can prevent dosing errors that can result in fatalities in neonates. And so it has a very meaningful safety benefit that will give us a market share and a pricing premium when it's sold. And then he mentioned the Little's brand and the Lacto brand. Once again, these are very powerful brands that we think that we can put a lot of new innovations under. And Nitesh, he'll cover this when he discusses his presentation about how these large mother brands can sustain a lot of innovation under them. But it's not just about the top line. Obviously, this top line will be allowing us to grow above market. It also will be allowing us to capture better quality revenue with better margins. But the second component that we need to deliver for ourselves and for you as stakeholders is improved profitability. So in this, we really are going to be improving our execution. And Hervé will cover this, for example, when we go in the CDMO section, where we're going to be not just delivering raising the bar across all our sites. We'll use that phrase, but we're also going to be delighting our customers because that's how you get repeat business. So that delivery to delight and the overall raising of bar will really improve our execution, which will allow us to have beneficial impacts on revenue. The second one is that we do need to and will make certain investments, as Nandini mentioned, in both organic areas to allow us to support the customer-led requirements. But we are going to be much tighter around the overall execution of our CapEx and ensuring that it does come online when it should. And when it comes online, the market is able to enjoy it. And so we will be having a tighter process end-to-end on that. And then finally, you'll hear this in a number of the presentations, but we're going to be improving our overall utilization levels, which will give us operating leverage. And you hear that when Chris gives some of the summary in the CDMO section. But overall, we're going to have focus on utilization improvement, our procurement efforts and OE that we should together should improve our EBITDA and improve our return on capital. And the last bit that's really important is people and all of the cultural elements to this. And I'll pick 3 stories to try and bring this to life for you to see how it's coming into practice. And it's not just, as Nandini said, words on a slide, it's things we do. I'll pick one of the things we realize is that we're in a highly volatile, rapidly changing world. And so we've decided empowered accountability is that people closest to the opportunity or the problem need to make the decisions. So this is an example of something that's going on every day in one of our locations. But the example is the WHO announced an emergency tender to provide inhalation anesthetic product to a war-affected area. For them, it was very important that they get this product very quickly. There were multiple people who were bidding on this tender. In our past version of ourselves, it would be a top-down project. We'd assign the COO to work on it, and the COO would deliver the tender. In the current environment, we actually empowered the team closest to the problem to come up with a way to deliver the product in the time frame required, which none of the other competition could do, and get it to the war-affected area quickly. And frankly, we didn't have to do it. The team did it. And that's an example of the empowered accountability in action. It's happening across many of our locations as we speak. The second one would be seamless collaboration. Some of you may have heard about the Biosecure Act. It's affecting the industry overall. One of the outcomes of that is that some of the traditional options for antibody-drug conjugation are no longer perceived as good as or as available. We can provide the antibody-drug conjugation services. I described it in my upfront areas of differentiated offering, but it involves multiple sites. So we have to change how our sites collaborate. And if we want to meet the timelines the clients require to meet their patient requirements for their clinical filings, it requires our sites to work in parallel, not in series. So we broke down walls, we changed how our sites work, and now we're able to offer a timeline that meets the client requirements using our network by having our sites work in parallel together instead of in series apart. And so that's an example of seamless collaboration. I'll pick one last example around patient centricity. We had a client who was visiting our facility in Michigan for actually another client event. And he was walking in our lobby, and we can't really tell you what clients we serve. They don't want us to do that. But if you do come to one of our lobbies, sometimes you'll see a plaque on the wall where it's kind of the first dose made. And in that case, the client saw the plaque on the wall, and it was a particular cancer medicine. And he started to kind of get a bit emotional. He said, that drug saved my life. I was given a death sentence by my doctor, and now my cancer is remission. I'd like to talk to your team about what you did for me. And he actually addressed our overall organization earlier last week. Nandini mentioned it, where he was describing our employees as heroes. Why am I sharing this? Because when you get to the emotional component of motivation, a lot of people do extraordinary things. And so we're really embedding this culture in our organization. So those are some stories to try and drive the transformation that we're driving in our business to light. And they do cut across all 3 businesses. But these are a bit of teasers because you're going to hear this now from each of the leaders as we go ahead. So now you're in the investing crowd. You're saying, okay, where are the numbers? So I'll give you 3 numbers to remember, and even simpler, it's 3, 2, 1. So you just count down. We're going to be tripling our EBITDA over the period, bringing it up to 25%. We're going to be doubling our revenue, bringing it up to $2 billion. And we're going to reduce our leverage in terms of the EBITDA debt levels to 1 time. So we think that these together will be a very powerful combination for how we're going to achieve our financial outcomes for us and for our stakeholders. And obviously on the lower left, additional points is that the natural follow-on onto profit after tax will be exponential growth. And the return on capital will be substantially improved over the period into the high teens. And so these 5 numbers together will be a big, powerful change, particularly when in combination. But if you just need to remember 3, 2, 1, that's how you can connect the dots on the financial outcomes of this strategy. And then without any further, I'll pass it over to Hervé, Stu, and Chris.